In a block of flats in Battersea, in London, England, lived a boy called Moog, his mother, and a dog called Rockford. Battersea is famous for three things: its park, where Rockford liked to go for walks; the power station, deserted now, but whose 4 great chimneys can still be seen for miles and miles; and Battersea Dog's Home, where Moog had picked Rockford out earlier that year. But as this is just the start of Rockford's Rock Opera, and I can hear the orchestra tuning up, we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves. There is, after all, an amazing story to tell. Every day, watching as the world goes by in my room. Lonely days, waiting for the hearts to fly with my tunes. But what is that peculiar sound? So hurry now, he's coming to town. So roll up to Rockford's Rock Opera with me. Roll up and see. If you stroll up, we'll all get together. Come to Rockford's Rock Opera with me. So roll up to Rockford's Rock Opera with me. Roll up and see. If you stroll up, we'll all get together. Come to Rockford's Rock Opera with me. 'Cause it's Rockford's Rock Opera, you see. So roll up with me. Rockford the dog was brown with a crooked tail. At first he hadn't been sure of Moog, his new owner. The family who had owned him before had got bored with him, and for a while Rockford hadn't trusted any humans. But he was fine now. Moog loved him, and so did Moog's mother. However, in a small flat, on a long winter's afternoon, a boy and a dog can get just a little bit in the way. So when an uncle comes to visit, then it's a good idea to get him to take the boy and the dog to the park, to run about and get exercise, so that mums can get on with important things like tidying bedrooms and cooking dinner. So that's exactly what happened this winter's afternoon in Battersea. Moog liked his uncle. He had taken him to the Natural History Museum the day before, and they had looked at the dinosaurs together. They had bought a model of a T-Rex you could build out of cardboard and spent the evening making it. It was quite difficult, and in fact, when it was finished, it looked more like a crocodile trying to peer over a fence. But Moog put it on his shelf all the same.
It's amazing to think creatures like that once roamed the earth,
he said.
I'm not sure creatures exactly like that ever did,
said his mother.
But I know what you mean.
Now, as they got ready to go out into the cold, Moog and his uncle were looking forward to roaming with Rockford in a wintry Battersea park.
Make sure you take care of Rockford,
said Moog's mother.
He likes to run off.
Of course I will,
said the uncle, winking at Moog and grabbing a football on Rockford's lead.
Come on, you two, let's go.
As they walked together towards the park, the sky was darkening to a deep blue. To the west, the winter sun was tangerine orange and sinking down below the rooftops along Battersea Park Road. And to the east, the great grey chimneys of Battersea Power Station pointed up towards the stars that were just beginning to shine. Battersea Park was full of people, and as soon as his lead was released, Rockford ran off happily. He loved the park, and so did Moog, and when they were together, life felt better. When you're down, feeling tired and cold and pretty useless, he's the one that glums will let the sun shine through. If you go roaming with Rockford, when you've a trouble to beat, he knows and he'll take you homeward, where life is sweet for you and me. wander down the ways and when you're walking. He's the chum who comes to make the fun times true. If you go roaming with Rockford when you've a trouble to beat, he knows and he'll take you homeward where life is sweet for you and me. Moog and his uncle were now kicking the football to each other, shouting bits of commentary as they did. But suddenly, when they looked round to check where Rockford was, to their alarm, he wasn't. This wasn't too serious because Rockford often ran off chasing after an interesting smell or another dog, so they assumed he'd soon reappear from behind a bush or round a fence. But he didn't. Moog's uncle's heart sank. This was exactly what he'd been told not to do.
Oh no, where is he? We must find him,
he said.
He was over there,
Said Moog.
towards the lake.
That's exactly where Rockford was. He had found a tree near the lake, which was one of his favourite places for doing what dogs do by trees. The tree had a blue carrier bag caught in its bare winter branches. It was too high for anyone to reach and had been there for ages, snapping in the wind like a flag. It meant Rockford could always remember that tree, and he thought it was special. Because when he did what dogs do by trees, the humans would always scoop it up in bags and put it carefully into strange-looking black boxes by the side of the path. Must be important, thought Rockford. Maybe it's magic. Rockford pointed his bottom down at the ground below the tree, but something wasn't right. Something felt odd. Then he heard what sounded like a squeak, so he stood up again.
Please be careful, I'm only small,
said a voice that sounded as if it was coming from his bottom. Rockford craned his head right round and began walking in a circle, trying to catch his bottom up, but he could never quite manage it. And he couldn't quite see the small, sticky yellow creature with a rough green stripe down its back that was now attached to him, although he could hear it complaining that it was now stuck to his backside.
Oh dear, I really do need to get off,
said the animal, its little yellow legs waving helplessly in the air. As Rockford walked round and round trying to see whatever it was, he began to feel dizzy. He was aware of moving closer to the side of the lake, but it was only when he felt the feel of the ground change under his paws that he stopped and looked round. There was water on every side. He was standing on what seemed to be a gigantic leaf, with its edges curled round like the sides of a boat, and with a large leafy sail, and he was now drifting out into the lake. He could hear his name being called from somewhere behind. He wanted to run back to Moog, but the shore was now quite far away.
What on earth is happening?
Said the little yellow creature, who was obviously just as confused as Rockford. Rockford didn't have a clue who this stranger attached to him was, and the little animal was certainly now well and truly stuck. But then, as if to read his mind, the small, sticky creature stared up from Rockford's bottom and said,
We're stuck because I am a cocklebur ick.
And as the leaf boat drifted further out into the dusky lake, and with Moog's worried cries echoing further away, the cocklebur ick told Rockford its story.